Podcaster, even better ball player, and the two-time All-Pro DN might need to fire up the studio again after Friday, because according to his own iOS press release, Parsons has requested a trade out of Dallas. The Cowboy pass rusher made it clear that contract talks have stalled, making this the latest in the public saga between he, his agent, and team brass trying to come to terms on an extension for Parsons. You know it's real when it's a Notes app screenshot. Unfortunately, he said, "I no longer want to be here. I no longer want to be held to closed-door negotiations without my agent present. I no longer want shots taken at me for getting injured while laying it on the line for the organization, our fans, and my teammates. I no longer want narratives created and spread to the media about me." Up to today, the team has not had a single conversation with my agent about a contract. Podcaster, even better ball player, and the two-time All-Pro DN might need to fire up the studio again after Friday, because according to his own iOS press release, Parsons has requested a trade out of Dallas. The Cowboy pass rusher made it clear that contract talks have stalled, making this the latest in the public saga between he, his agent, and team brass trying to come to terms on an extension for Parsons. You know it's real when it's a Notes app screenshot. Unfortunately, he said, "I no longer want to be here. I no longer want to be held to closed-door negotiations without my agent present. I no longer want shots taken at me for getting injured while laying it on the line for the organization, our fans, and my teammates. I no longer want narratives created and spread to the media about me." Up to today, the team has not had a single conversation with my agent about a contract. Not one demand has been made by my agent about money, years, or anything else. I stayed quiet, but again, after repeated shots at myself and all the narratives, I have made a tough decision. I no longer want to play for the Dallas Cowboys. My trade request has been submitted to Stephen Jones personally. A lot of folks have a lot of thoughts on this.
Usually, Jerry Jones likes this sort of attention. But when we go back to previous contract stalemates with Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb in recent years, none of those players ever issued a trade request the way that Micah Parsons did today. Now it's up to the Dallas Cowboys to figure out how they want to proceed.
I need somebody to go to the Cowboys facility and remove every copy of 48 Laws of Power that are in every front office, because this is not the way you conduct business.
Micah Parsons has to sort of like prime the pump to get this done. This doesn't happen in 31 other buildings. Every other team takes their star players and they want to sign them as quickly as possible. It is better for your salary cap, and it is cheaper because you don't have another year for other players to get bigger contracts, which is exactly what has happened here with the edge rusher situation with Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, and other players signing contracts.
Players in this day and age, in an era of player empowerment, you're seeing it so much more in professional sports, particularly in the NFL. You can't do business this way anymore. It's a bad method, and it creates bad blood within the locker room.
And they have to have him on the field. This is embarrassing. Every summer we go through something like this. Jerry Jones, I know this sounds crazy, but you got to change a little bit, buddy.
What's the definition of a damn fool? Doing something over and over again and thinking something is going to change. So here we are again, like last year with CeeDee Lamb, like the year previously with Dak Prescott. Here we are again with the marquee star on the defensive side of the football, and it's going to lead to us having a conversation sometime in November and December about why the hell the Dallas Cowboys not a contender to get into the playoffs.
And I feel, Marcus, why not pay the man? Parsons has produced a pass rush win rate of over 30% since his league debut. That's the best in the NFL. In fact, Parsons' career pass rush win rate is the highest by any player since the metric was introduced in 2017. The two-time All-Pro has pressured the quarterback on about 17% of his pass rush snaps. It's also the best since his league debut. Parsons is ranked first or second in pressure percentage in every single season among players with at least 200 pass rushes. But Parsons doesn't just generate generate pressure, he finishes the drill. He has recorded at least 12 sacks in each of his first 4 seasons, joining Hall of Famer Reggie White as the only 2 players to do that since sacks were tracked in 1982. No player has done it in each of their first of their first 5 seasons. His teammate, CeeDee Lamb, who had prolonged negotiations of his own last season, posted on social media after Parsons' declaration, "Never fails, dog. Just pay the man what you owe him. No need for the extracurricular." Of course, Parsons retweeted that. It's just motivational quotes and business as usual for their division rivals in Philly, though. The Eagles continue to find what is arguably the best roster in football, meaning each practice pits the number 1 defense in the NFL by yards per game last season against the reigning Offensive Player of the Year. Dan Graziano has more on that battle.
Saquon Barkley was the star of the show at Eagles practice on Friday. He caught passes out of the backfield. He broke off a long run. He scored a short touchdown and a 2-point conversion. Trash-talked the defense as he was hopping off the field. It was a reminder that just because the Eagles have a new offensive coordinator in Kevin Patullo, we shouldn't expect too much to change. Patullo was on the staff last year when the Eagles found Super Bowl success by running the ball with Saquon behind their awesome offensive line, and he's not likely to mess with a good thing.
Kevin's did a good job. I think he's been really implemental, the past 4 or 5 years that he's been here. Being next to our OC, so really big in installing, our passing game attack. And so really it's been a flawless transition. And as we progress towards the season, we just keep better and better.
The last time the Eagles promoted from within to fill the OC spot was 2023. That year it was Brian Johnson, and that season did not end well. But Patullo has been on the staff now for 5 years. He knows Jalen Hurts well. He and Nick Sirianni coached together in Indianapolis. One person in the building today told me Patullo is overdue for his chance to be an offensive coordinator in this league. The Eagles are brimming with the confidence of a reigning Super Bowl champion, and that gives them every reason to believe Kevin Patullo can keep this offense humming the way it did last year. With the Eagles, Dan Graziano, ESPN.
You can tell the Jones family wasn't happy with Micah by the things that were being said. But Jerry Jones may have thought he had a deal done in a conversation with Micah, but he knew that wasn't a deal done the right way. And I think Micah had the conversation because he was eager to be a Cowboy. And he actually went in to have a conversation about leadership.
Remarkable to me that with all of the talk, with all of the continuing conversation about Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell and their crimes, not just against humanity, but against children, that when Donald Trump opens up his fucking mouth and talks about this matter, it's not them who are evil. It's not Jeffrey Epstein. He never gets called evil. He gets called a creep, I guess once or twice by Donald Trump. But Ghislaine Maxwell, no, he wishes her well. When Donald Trump saves that type of vitriolic language and venom about being evil, he talks about Democrats who want the Epstein files released. When he talks about people being stupid or dupes or whatever he's talked about, he saves that kind of language for his base who want the Epstein files released. It should be illuminating to Republicans who are still hanging on to some kind of a hope, some glimmer of hope that Donald Trump doesn't or hasn't. Because as each day passes, I am more and more certain that that is the case. Because otherwise, why fight so diligently